Greetings, the Astro 30 here yet again, and welcome back to AEL. Thank you for joining me. Well, today in this video I want to explore making a guitar practice amplifier, which I've done before. However, this one is different. It doesn't drive a speaker, it drives a pair of headphones. So it's a personal, non-annoying guitar practice amplifier. So you won't annoy your neighbours, won't annoy your housemates, family, whatever. So to start with, we're going to look at the input stage. So I've got this simple non-inverting amplifier stage configured up here. We're using a TL071 and we've got pin 3 biased to half the supply voltage by these two 10k resistors in the voltage divider, plus this 100k resistor feeding pin 3 with a small little filter capacitor here. And that will provide roughly half the supply voltage here. In the feedback path, we've got a 1k and a 10 microfarad to ground. We've got this 1k resistor and this 100k pot. So when this pot is rotated fully counterclockwise, the gain of this op-amp stage is 2. When we rotate the pot fully, we get a gain of 102. We're also including in the feedback path these two diodes. In this case, these are LEDs. I've chosen green ones because they look cool. Because I've been told in the past that using LEDs in the feedback path of an op-amp like this to create soft clipping, which is what this is intending to do, sounds a lot less harsh using LEDs than it does using, say, 1N4148s. So I'm going to try it with two green LEDs back to back. The output is then fed through this 10 microfarad capacitor into this tone pot, which for all intents and purposes is like another volume pot because of the way it's wired. But when we rotate this to counterclockwise, we're now putting this 22 nanofarad capacitor across the output basically, and together with this potentiometer and this capacitor forms a low pass filter at this point. So all this is doing really is rolling off the highs. That is then fed into a volume pot, which then goes out to the next stage. So what I need to do is I need to build this drive stage up on breadboard, and we'll see how well it works. Okay, a short time later, I've got the front end built. In fact, I actually built this last night, and I've already tested it, and it seems to work okay. So it's powered up. We've got a roughly 70 millivolt input signal going in, which is what my bass guitar actually outputs at hard attack on the strings. Every guitar varies with its output voltage depending on pickup arrangement, etc. But the average is roughly 50 millivolts RMS for most guitars. So looking at the scope screen, we can see we've got a nice waveform coming out. Although my volume pot, I'm measuring after the volume pot, is only halfway, so if I wind that up full so we can see the signal better, there we go. We've got roughly 146 millivolts RMS coming back out, so there's a tiny bit more than 70 millivolts going in, which is fine. So I'm going to drop that down. I'm going to start winding up the drive control or gain control, and we've overshot the screen. So as we can see, I've dropped something on the floor. As we can see, the top and bottom are starting to round out. So if I give it a little bit more gain, it starts to round out even more. And that's the effect of the light emitting diodes coming into conduction. As we can see there, they're starting to light up. If I back it off, they fade out a bit. So if I drive it more, the LEDs light up more. And if we look at the scope screen, and I just change that, we can see that it's rounding out more. So if I drive this full, well, now it's almost a perfect square. So we can see that it's rounded though, it's not like a harsh clip. So if I play with the tone control, apart from connection issues, we can see it starts lowering in amplitude but also rounding off more here. So that's the effect of the 22 nanofarad capacitor coming into play there. So, all well and good. It looks like we've got a working front end. So how good it works, I don't know. What I'd have to do is hook the guitar up to it. Man, it's got some serious connection issues. Is hook the guitar up to it and hook it to an amplifier so we can hear it, and just hear how it performs. Now, I don't expect high quality because it wasn't designed for a high quality sound. So what I'm going to need is I'm going to need an input socket so I can connect the bass guitar up to it a lot easier. So I'm actually going to pinch one of the sockets off of this Short Circuits 3 project, which was number 27 guitar distortion unit. I'm not using it, so I might as well reclaim the parts. These are like about $4 or $5 on their own. Alright, so I got the bass hooked up to the circuit. Alright, so we've got an output, sounds alright, so let me increase the gain. I'll drop the master down. It's starting to distort, so we'll wind that up full. I've just lost a connection. Let me just quickly fix that. Right, that's fixed. It doesn't seem to provide that much distortion, but then again, this is not an electric guitar, this is a bass. Anyway, so we know that the concept works and the distortion doesn't sound that harsh, so I might see what the tone control does. Seems to be making a difference. Yeah, that seems to do what it's supposed to do. So, the next thing would really be maybe turn the volume controls on the guitar up full. Well, yeah, I'm out of practice, haven't played for a long time, I don't usually play with the plectrum. So, okay, the circuit works, we can hear that. The distortion may not be quite distorting enough. There's just not enough gain there. That could be changed by changing that 1K resistor in the feedback path to a, say, 2.2K. Just to give it a little bit more distortion, but then there might be just way too much gain. So the next thing to do would be to come up with an output amplifier to drive the headphones. And that is to use our old friend the LM386, which is capable of up to 500 milliwatts into 8 ohms. However, we're not using it to drive a speaker. So it's pretty much what is in the data sheet for the LM386. The only difference is I've got this input resistor which reduces the amount of forward gain coming in from the rest of the circuit. So we're not overdriving the headphones and deafening ourselves. The rest of the topology is the same. It's currently sitting at its default gain of 20, which should be more than enough to drive the headphones. And then we go through, after the blocking capacitor here, these two 68 ohms, which just divides the output up to the left and the right outputs to the headphones. So now the thing will be to build that up on the breadboard, connect the input circuit to it, and for testing I'll connect a speaker at this point just so we can hear things, and see how it sounds. So I've got the LM386 built on the output there. I have a 100 nanofarad capacitor going across the supply rails there, and it's connected via that 47k input resistor, and we indeed have an output. How well this sounds into headphones will be anyone's guess. Yes, the LM386 is noisy, but so it is actually producing a sound. Nice. Alright, so I think the way that gain is set up, it doesn't sound that loud through that speaker, but that's the whole entire point, because going into headphones we don't need that much gain to drive the headphones. I'll have to hook this up to at least one channel of my headphones, which are 32 ohm I believe, and see if it sounds okay. Headphones are connected to the circuit. I can actually hear it coming through the headphones. So let me just pop the headphones on and have a play around. You won't be able to hear anything, but I will. Oh, that's loud. Turn it down. Yep, it does actually work. But my right ear is lonely. Yeah, it sounds alright. Let me play with the tone control. Yeah, it sounds alright. So I'm going to stop doing that because you can't hear anything. Or you might have been picking up some bleed from the headphones into the microphone and the camera, but from what I can hear it sounds alright, but with the distortion full up it sounds like it's got too much gain, but that's fine. That could actually be fixed by increasing the value of that 47k resistor to say, I don't know, 100k, and that should essentially halve the gain. Although it is still open to modification. Let's just be clear on that. But to finalise this video, let me completely redraw the schematic up completely so we can see what's going on here. So there's the complete schematic drawn up. It's the same as the other whiteboard versions. This is the drive stage or input stage. As I said, this circuit is open to modification. That is changing, say, the value of this capacitor to maybe give it a much more muddier sound when it's rotated fully counterclockwise. And also playing with the types of LEDs we're using here. I'm using green, I believe they're 600 millicandescents. I'll check that and put a caption down the bottom if I'm wrong. You could try, say, red LEDs here. It's really to do with the forward voltage of these LEDs that affect the sound. So the higher the forward voltage, you get a different sound. The lower the forward voltage, you get a different sound. So the other modification is probably you could change this pot from 100k to something like 250k if you want a little bit more drive. But that may be too much drive then going into the LM386 amplifier here and destroying your hearing because it's just too loud. So you probably want to change the value of this 47k resistor to something higher, such as like 100, if you're playing around with this front end here. But for the most part, the way that this is done and put on the breadboard, it's pretty stable. It does not motorboat, does not oscillate or anything like that. On a bit of perf board or actually a proper PCB, this would probably function quite nicely without any further modification. But these two 100 nanofarad capacitors I would put very close, or as close as possible, to each of the IC's bodies, just to help prevent them from going into any spurious oscillation. Other than that, the circuit works fine and performs fine as far as I can tell into headphones. So the reason why we've got these two resistors here is to split the signal, because there's going to be a 32 ohm impedance on this point and a 32 ohm impedance on that point. And then when you actually join the two connections together to a single point like this, well, that's going to halve the impedance. So you're going to be at 16 ohms. So what that means is you'd end up getting more power into the headphones. These two resistors try to keep it balanced so that the output impedance is not affected by joining it together at a single point here. Other than that, there's not much more to talk about this circuit. It works and performs the way I wanted it to. So I'm pretty much going to leave this video here. I'm the Astro 30, and if you enjoyed this video, please remember to go down below, like, comment and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And as always, this is the Astro 30 saying see ya, thanks for watching, have a great day.